All right, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So at this point, everybody should be able to see the Bizminer website. During today's demo, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about Bizminer, what we're known for, and what sets us apart from some of the other resources that are out there and that you may currently be using. I'm then going to show you how you would create and access a report on our database so you can get a sense of how easy it is to use. And then I'm going to show you some sample reports. That way you can see what the reports look like and the content of those reports. So as far as Bizminer goes, we met a lot of you at the SBDC conference. So as you probably know by now, we're an industry research database. There's really two types of information that we provide. We provide industry financial analysis and also industry market analysis. As far as what we're known for and what differentiates us from some of the other resources out there, there's really three things. The first is our industry coverage. We report on over 5,000 industries, so that allows you to really drill down and focus on very specific lines of business. The second thing we're known for is our local information. With our database, you're able to drill down and focus on local market areas, such as states and metro areas, and in some cases, all the way down to counties and zip codes. That way, you're getting data that is for your local market area rather than settling for national or regional trends. And the final thing we're known for is providing a lot of small business and startup information, which tends to be information that's hard to find and is obviously very meaningful to the types of clients that you're working with. So those are the three things that we're really known for. What I would like to do now is to simply create one of these reports. So I'm going to show you how you would come to the website, do an industry search, and create one of these research reports. What you see up on the screen right now, oops, sorry, didn't mean to click that. What you see up on the screen right now is our industry reports search tools. Because we report on so many different industries, we give you a few different ways that you can search for those industries. The first way that you can search is by keyword. I actually just had somebody call in yesterday who was searching for information on elevator installations. So what we did is we came to the website and did a quick search for elevator. And as you can see, it brings up all the industry segments with elevator in the title. The second one down here was elevator installation, so we were able to provide that client with the information that they needed. You can also search by NAICS code. So as an example, I'm going to type in 7225, which is the code for restaurants. Most databases would break it down into restaurants, maybe full service and limited service restaurants. But as you can see with Bizminer, we take it a step further. We go all the way down to ethnic restaurants, and then within ethnic restaurants, we have Chinese and Italian and Greek restaurants. And we go down to specific types of restaurants like diners and steakhouses, seafood restaurants, mobile food trucks. So we really try to drill down and break out the industries into very specific subsegments. And we do this not only with restaurants, but with all of our industry segments. We do this with the construction industry, manufacturing, retail trade, the healthcare sector. So really throughout our database, you'll see that we try to break it down into specific lines of business. And we do that with our own proprietary classification system. You may notice here that we not only have the standard 6-digit NAICS code, but we also have decimal points added onto the end of that NAICS code. That way we can further categorize these industries. I'm going to jump back to this page. If the keyword search isn't bringing up what you need and you don't know the NAICS code, we do give you a third option called the drill down. This will start at the sector level, and such as construction and manufacturing or retail trade. And as you click on the sector, it'll start to drill down to those more specific subsegments. So you can just continue to do this drill down. until you find the industry that you're looking for. I want to stop for a second and just let everyone know that I do encourage you to ask questions along the way. You can either unmute yourselves and ask a question, or you can also use that chat box in the GoToMeeting window over there to the side of your screen. So either way, I'd be happy to stop and ask questions along the way. I will also stop periodically and check that chat box in case you want to send a question in that way. But I definitely encourage it. I think the demos are more useful if it's a little bit more interactive. So I do want to point that out. Once you find the industry that you're looking for, all you have to do is click on Show Industry Reports. And that brings up a page where it lists the different types of reports that we have available for this industry segment. We have a report called the Industry Financial Profile, an Industry Market Report. We do sell business prospect lists or business contact lists, Biz Benchmarker, Micro Firm Profit and Loss Report, and a Competitive Market Analyzer. So as you can see, we really have a variety of reports that are available. I will come back to this page and point out the differences between these reports, but what I want to do for the time being is finish the selection process for this first report so you can see how that works. So the Industry Financial Profile, this is a good one to start off with because this is really the foundation of Bizminer. This is the first report that we came out with over 15 years ago. And it continues to be our most popular report series. It's going to give you a very detailed financial report on whatever industry you select. What's also nice about this report is you can set a couple more parameters. So you can focus on this industry at the US level, or you can drill down to a state or metro area. So it looks like we cover Albuquerque and Santa Fe in New Mexico. Let's stick with the state level for the time being. Once you select the area, you can also focus on a particular sales class. So this is another great thing about Bizminer is not only can you focus on a specific industry and a local market area, but you can also focus on businesses of a certain size. That way you're getting benchmarks that directly relate to your client's line of business, to their local area, and to the size of their business. So this report's only going to analyze firms of a certain size. And as you can see, we have a lot of sales class breakdowns. We actually have up to 12 sales class options, depending on the industry. And we have much smaller sales classes than a lot of other resources out there. So instead of just having a very broad sales class at the bottom of like 0 to 2.5 million, we break it down a lot further, such as 1 to 500,000, 500 to 1 million, 1 million to 2.5. Once you've made your selections of the industry, area, and sales class, all you have to do is click Access Now. And this takes you to what we call the My Reports page. Basically, this would be a storage account for your subscription. So all the reports that you create will be stored here in your account. The report we just created will be at the top of the list. And you're able to access that report in HTML, PDF, or CSV format. There's also this Inputs link over here to the left of the report. If you click on this Inputs link, it allows you to input your client's financial information. So you don't have to do that. That is optional, but if you choose to do that, it'll display your client's financials right alongside the industry averages. So it's a nice little comparison tool that's built into these reports. Let's go ahead and bring up this report so we can take a look at it. All right, so we're looking at a report for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning contractors in New Mexico, sales class 500,000 to 1 million. So it's only analyzing firms that fall within those parameters. As you can see here in the first table, it's showing you what years and how many firms are being analyzed. It starts off with discretionary owner earnings, which is a good indicator of profits for small businesses. This report will have a very detailed profit and loss statement. And this will be an industry average profit and loss. So what this report's doing is it's analyzing all those firms that fall within the parameters that we set and providing you with industry averages. So this is the industry average P&L in dollar form. There's 23 line items in our profit and loss statement, so you're getting a very good breakdown of all the expenses. And then you get the profit and loss statement in percentage form. And if you happen to use the inputs, so if you input your client's financial information into this report, it would simply display their information right underneath this. So you would see the industry's profit and loss statement, then right underneath it, you would see your client's profit and loss statement. So it just allows you to look at them side by side. Since I didn't use the inputs for this sample, it's just showing the industry averages right now. The next thing we see on the screen is the industry average balance sheet, which will also come in dollar and percentage form. There's a sources and uses of funds table, which is similar to a cash flow. And then we get down into the financial ratios. These reports will have 34 financial ratios, and they're separated out into 4 categories. So the first set of ratios is they're for cash flow. There'll be a bar graph for each ratio. Financial ratios for profitability. Ratios for efficiency and debt risk. And financial ratios for turnover. So very detailed financial report. And you can pull this report for any of the 5,000 plus industries that we cover. As you saw during the selection process, you can focus on that industry at the US, state, or metro level. And you also have the different sales class options, so you can only analyze firms with a certain amount of annual sales. And this report keeps a consistent format. So even though we're looking at plumbers in New Mexico, if you were to pull this report for, steakhouses in Philadelphia or pet washing and grooming in Florida, it still looks the same. So this report keeps a consistent format no matter what your selections are. That way you know what you're getting every time. Any questions on this particular report? All right, doesn't look like we have any questions so far. I do want to take this time just to address the sources of the data. This is usually a question I get during these demos, so go ahead and address that right now. Down here on the last page of all of our reports, we list out the sources. So as you can see from the list up on the screen right now, we do get information from both public government sources like the IRS and the US Census. We also get a lot of information from private statistical sources. So really what we're doing is we're pulling raw data from a variety of sources and aggregating it together in our database in order to create these reports. By doing that, we're able to get information on over 15 million active businesses. So it's a very robust database. And because of that, even when you drill down to specific industries and areas, we still have a good sample size available and you're still getting good industry averages. So that's definitely one of the strong points of the database. I also like to take this time to just kind of touch upon the reliability of this data. As I had mentioned earlier, we've been producing these financial reports for over 15 years now. They're used by about 30,000 banking professionals. So the banks are pretty used to seeing these reports at this point. We're used by a lot of CPA and valuation professionals. We're obviously used by a lot of SBDCs and academic libraries. We're also licensed by the IRS and the Canada Revenue Agency, and we're accepted in U.S. tax court. So this is very well vetted and reliable financial benchmarks. All right, if there's no other questions on this report, I'm going to go ahead and exit out. And I'm going to jump back to that page where it lists the different types of reports that we have available. Now, the next report I want to show you is the Biz Benchmarker report. And that's because this report's actually using the exact same financial information as what's found in the industry financial report we just looked at. Now, what makes this report different is it's more of a customizable and client-friendly benchmarking tool. Now, with this report, you can still choose a local area, and you can still choose a sales class to focus on. That way you're getting reliable benchmarks. But with this report, you would actually click on Create Biz Benchmarker, and you would go through a 5-step process to basically customize the report. You would get to choose what years you want in the report, what ratios. You could create a cover page with your name and logo and your client's name and logo. It would also ask you for your client's financial inputs. With this report, your client's inputs are required. Without those inputs, the report doesn't make any sense. So with the first report, the inputs were optional. With this report, you really need those inputs for the report to be useful. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to bring up a sample. This sample is for Excel Plumbing, which is a hypothetical business that we made up for this sample report. And we're doing plumbing, heating, and air conditioning contractors in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Sales class 1 million to 2.5 million. So what this report does is it takes your client's inputs, it automatically calculates their ratios and compares their ratios to the industry ratios. And then depending on how they compare, how they stack up against the industry, they get scores on a 1 to 5 scale. A 1 and a red score being bad, all the way up to a score of a 5 up here in the blue, which is a good score. So what they'll get is an overall score for their performance. They'll also get a score in the 4 ratio categories of cash flow, profitability, efficiency, and debt risk. There's also this summary table right here. These are all ratios that you see. So this table shows you the score that your client got for each ratio and for each year of the report. And then over here on the right is their overall color-coded score. So really, as I said earlier, this is supposed to be a little bit more client-friendly. So they can easily look at this report and say, okay, it looks like I'm doing well with my profitability and with my efficiency, but I'm really struggling when it comes to my cash flow and especially my debt risk. So they can quickly and easily see where they're doing well and where they need to make some improvements going forward. Down here in the body of the report, it just goes into a little bit more detail for each ratio, such as the current ratio. You can see the score that they got. You can see the actual ratio for your client and for the industry. You'll get a definition of the ratio, and you'll also get a consider this. This is basically a suggestion as to how they can improve that score. Now, these suggestions are pretty broad, but you are able to edit them. So next, you can't see it in this sample report that I'm showing you, but if you had a subscription, there would be a little edit button next to each one of these suggestions, and you could click that edit button and add your own suggestions into the report, and you can delete our suggestions if you want to. So it's a way to directly communicate to your client right within the report. Bear with me for a second. I'm going to scroll down through all these ratios towards the bottom of the report. And I want to show you what the profit and loss would look like. So if you want, you can have the profit and loss and balance sheet in this report as well. If you choose to do so, this is how it displays. You'll be able to see the industry average in blue, your client's inputs in orange, and the variance from the industry right next to that. And it will display for each year that you decide to include in the report. So you can have that P&L and balance sheet right within this report. So a very useful and customizable benchmarking tool that you can use with your clients. Any questions on this report before I move on to the next report? Again, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions or use the chat box. All right, doesn't look like there's any questions so far. I will go ahead and exit out of this report and move on to the next one. The next one is called our micro firm profit and loss report. So what makes this report different is it comes in two versions. I should point out that this report is always US based and there's no sales class options. What makes this report different is the two versions that are available. The one version allows you to focus only on the sole proprietorships within the industry, and the second version allows you to focus only on the startups. So that's what makes this report unique. We made this option available because, as you know, a sole proprietorship or a startup's financials tend to look a lot different than a corporation who's been around for a while. So it's nice to be able to separate them out and get some financial benchmarks, especially if you happen to be working with one of these types of businesses. As far as the content of this report goes, it looks pretty similar to the first report we looked at today. It'll show the industry's net profit over the past 3 years. It'll have a 5-year income and expense statement in dollar and percentage form. The text that you see on your screen right now is just definitions of line items. You'll have some annual cash ratios, some monthly cash flow statements, and 10 financial ratios here at the bottom of the report. So a little less detailed than the first report we looked at today, but again, a very nice option to have available in case you are working with a sole proprietorship or a startup. And I should say that we define a startup as a business within the first 2 years of operation. All right, I'm going to exit out of this report. So the 3 reports that I've showed you so far are reports that we consider to be industry financial analysis. The first report, the industry financial profile. Okay, I got a question. Good. I got a question asking, are all these reports included with the membership? Yes, they are. So our SBDC license gives you access to all the reports that I'll be showing you here today. And it's really unlimited access. So there is a report limit that we place on these accounts, but they're very, very high. They're 300 reports per user. So all of our current state SBDC licenses, they don't even get close to the limit. So that's not something that you have to worry about. And yes, all these reports are included in that license. The only thing that's not included, which is not included in any of our subscriptions, are these business prospect lists or business contact lists. They are always an additional purchase. And quite honestly, the SBDCs just don't use them very often. So it's not something that I think you'd be really missing out on. And if your client that you're working with does happen to want a business prospect list or business contact list, as some people call them, they can simply just come to our website and pull one themselves. They are pretty inexpensive. They run about 30 cents per record. So even if you got a business prospect list of 100 records, it's only about $30. So it's not a real big expense. But yeah, all the reports that we'll be looking at today are included in the SBDC license. Thanks for that question, Kristen. So as I was saying, the reports that we've looked at so far today, we consider to be industry financial analysis. The first report, the industry financial profile, that's our most detailed industry financial report. And like I said earlier, that's probably our most popular report series. We also have the Biz Benchmarker, which is a more customizable and client-friendly benchmarking report. And then we have the microfirm profit and loss report, which would be used if you happen to be working with a sole proprietorship or a startup. So those are our 3 financial reports. There's 2 more reports that I'm going to show you here today. These next 2 reports are what we consider to be more market research. What's also nice about these next 2 reports is that the areas that you can focus on range from the US all the way down to the zip code level. So you can really drill down to very local market areas when you're doing an analysis using these 2 types of reports. The first one I'm going to show you is called the Competitive Market Analyzer. And let me go ahead and bring up a sample for this. This one, like most of our samples that we're looking at today, is for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning contractors. And we're looking at a few zip codes around Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The big difference with this report is it's our only report that's more narrative in nature. So as you could see so far during the demo, most of our reports are very statistical. They're really providing you with the data. This report is actually pulling statistics from some of our other report series and plugging those statistics into a narrative format. So with this report, the narrative pretty much remains the same no matter what. What changes are the statistics, the numbers that you see within the narrative. So they will change depending on the industry and the area that you selected. So really with this report, you're not getting any information that you can't get through some of our other report series, but you're just getting it presented in a different type of way. And we've done this because we understand that you or some of the clients that you're working with, sometimes you just prefer the information in this type of format, especially with your clients. Sometimes it's easier for them to read and understand a report when it's put into a narrative type of format compared to just a lot of numbers and tables. So this is why we've made this available. As far as what's in this report, it's really a variety of information. It has some regional trends for whatever area that you selected, some economic background information, information on market penetration and industry vitality trends, goes into the industry's market size, small business share, and some growth projections through 2022. We have some information on annual sales, officers' comp, DOE, profit and efficiency. And the last section of this report actually compares your market area to the national industry. So it goes through a variety of measurements and basically shows if the local market area is doing better or worse than the national industry. I know I did scroll through this report and some of the other reports very quickly. I do want to point out that these sample reports are always available on our website. They can be found on this page right here that I'm pulling them from. They can also be viewed from this Our Products page. If you go down to All Products, there's sample reports on that page as well. And I also want to remind everybody that you currently have a trial account, which I'll resend the login information for that trial account after we get done with the demo here today. So if you want to take more time to really dig into some of these reports, you will have the opportunity to do that. All right, so that's it for the Competitive Market Analyzer, which, as I said, is the narrative report that we offer. Now, the last report we're going to be looking at here today is the Industry Market Report. Now, we're pretty excited about this report because we just released a brand new version of this report about 2 or 3 months ago, and it's already been getting great feedback, especially from our current SBDC clients. And the main reason for that is because we gathered feedback and took requests from our current clients and tried to incorporate that in the new release of this report. So some of the new features and benefits in this new report series were suggestions that we received from some of our current SBDC clients. So I think it's going to be a report that is going to be very useful to the SBDC advisors going forward. Excuse me. So as I said earlier, with that competitive market analyzer and with this industry market report, one of the really nice things is that you can focus on areas that range from the US all the way down to the zip code. So right now I'm going to quickly show you how you would choose that area. You would click on select the market area, and you're presented with 4 different options to define your market area. The first option allows you to choose the US, state, or metro. And as you can see here, when we were doing the financial report and we went down to New Mexico, I think all it had was Albuquerque and Santa Fe. But if we go down here now, you'll see that with these market reports, there'll be much more areas available. So not only is there the major metro areas, but also some of the smaller cities. The second option, you can choose a state. And it shows you what counties are available within that state. The third option, you can enter 1 or up to 5 zip codes to create an area. And the fourth option, which is an option that we just recently added with this new release, is a market radius. So with this one, you would just have to enter in an address to be the center point. And then up here, you would type in how big you want the radius to be, which can be less than a mile, all the way up to a 100-mile radius. After you've defined your market area, you can just go ahead and access that report. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up a sample that I have up for a couple of reasons. One is sometimes these reports do take a minute or 2 to download because it's sorting through all this data and has to create this map that you see. But the second reason is one of the features we've added to this report is the ability to have some inputs in there. And if you use the inputs, it really adds a lot of value to the report. So I want to be able to show you, if you use those inputs, how it really enhances the report. So if you go over to this input section up here at the top of the report, well, first I should point out that once again, this sample is for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning contractors. And we're looking at 3 zip codes around Harrisburg. The input section, it's just asking for a few pretty simple inputs, such as annual sales, number of employees, average wage, and rent. You can also create a cover page down here with your name and logo and your client's name and logo. And this is a feature that we're going to be adding to all of our reports here in the coming months. So with this report, we came up with a hypothetical plumbing company again called Prime Plumbing. And now that we've used these inputs, it's really going to enhance this report. It's going to benchmark this company against their local competition. So it's a pretty cool new feature. Now, if we jump over here to the report itself, you'll see that there's different sections to this report that we can jump around to. Right now, we're on this competitor section. This is one of the measurements or some of the information that we've been asked to provide for a couple of years now by the SBDCs. And we've just been able to start providing this. So we've been asked for a while now to provide a list of competitors and an industry map. So that's what you're seeing here on this screen. So with this industry map, the blue drop pin is going to be the location of your client's business. And the red drop pins are going to be all the competitors in that area that you selected. So these are all the other plumbing, heating, and air conditioning contractors in those 3 zip codes. And you can also click on these drop pins, and it'll bring up the name of that company. It's also going to highlight that company on this competitor list here to the left of the map. So you're also getting a list of the closest 250 competitors. Not only will you get the name, but as you click on the name, you'll get the street address, the distance from your client's location, the sales bracket that business falls within, and the website for that company if they have one. So it's a really quick and easy way to see who the competition is, where they're located, and even get a sense of what their sales are. And also, if you want to view this information in a different way, you can see there's different, I guess you can call them toggles up here. So if you're looking at the map and you say, you know, okay, it's nice to see where they're located, but how many businesses are actually on this map? You can switch over to a chart or to a table, and you can say, okay, there's 46 businesses, 40 of them are small businesses, 2 are branch operations, 2 are startups, 4 are branch operations. So it gives you a breakdown of the industry's population. There's also helpful information over here to the box on the left. So over here on this box, we are giving you any definitions that we think you might need, or some helpful information as to how to interpret these results. For example, over here, we're saying that a small business is a firm with less than 25 employees, and a startup is a business that's been in operation for less than 2 years. Over here on the right, there's also a comment box. So if you want to, you can make notes or comments along the way. And then if you save them, when you print this report out, or if you save it as a PDF and send it to a client, your comments and notes will be right here within the report. So this is another way that you can communicate with your client directly within the reports. I'll go ahead and show you some of these other sections. I won't take the time to go through all of them because there is quite a bit of information in here, but I'll point out some of the more popular sections, I guess I should say. There's a section on the industry's market volume. So what were the total sales for this industry in this area that you selected? And also the total sales of small businesses and startups. You can also switch over and see market share for small businesses, startups. And if you use those inputs, you can see the market share of your client. So this is what I was saying when I pointed out that using those inputs really enhances the report. So now you're able to see if your client's market share has been growing or shrinking over the past 3 years. You can also go over to annual sales and see average sales, median sales, small business sales, startup sales, and the sales of your client over the past 3 years. We can go over to sales rank to see where your client ranks in terms of annual sales. Prime Plumbing was 12th out of 46. It shows their sales percentile and percentage difference from average and median sales. It's also market penetration. I think this is a very useful section, showing you sales per person, per household, and per business site for both the local market area and for the U.S. industry. So this really allows you to analyze and see whether this local market area is completely saturated in this industry, or if it's underserved. So it gives you a sense of whether there's an opportunity to start or grow a business in this area. Information on employment, sales trends by employment class. Productivity, I think, is an important section to look at. It's showing you sales per person, average annual wage, and rent per employee. Sorry, sales per employee, not sales per person. Sales per employee, and it's showing you that figure for the U.S. industry, for the local market, and for your client. So you can really see how your client's stacking up against both the local and the U.S. industry. There is an index, basically benchmarking your client against the U.S. and local market. And information on startup performance. So how many startups were there in the past 3 years? What were their average and total sales and market share? We have industry concentration rates. So basically, what percentage of the total economy is this industry making up? Cessation rates, which are essentially failure rates for the industry. Branch concentration rates, and also demographic information. So information on the area's population, age, race and ethnicity, employment, income, education, and housing. Now this is just your typical U.S. Census demographics, but if anybody's ever tried to use the U.S. Census website, you'll know that it's pretty difficult. So we put those demographics right within our report, just to make it a little bit more convenient for you. Any questions on this report?
On one of the displays, you said market share, and I wasn't looking right at it. Was that on market? Would you review that quickly for me, please?
Yes. So the section on market shows you industry market volume, so total sales for this industry in this area over the past 3 years. It also shows you total sales for just the small businesses and just the startups. You can also click over here. So we're on industry market volume right now. You can click over to industry market share. So you can see what's the market share of the small businesses in this industry and area, what's the market share of the startups, and if you happen to use those inputs, you'll see the market share of your client if you put in their annual sales over the past 3 years.
Thank you. I missed that one altogether.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I'd like to take this time to kind of talk about how we compare to some of the other resources that are out there, especially with this report. I like to compare it to IBizWorld. Now, we definitely could not replace IBizWorld. They produce a very great product. I would say that Bizminer, especially this industry market report, is more of a complement to what they do. But I think it gives you a good sense of how we kind of differentiate ourselves from some of the other resources and what we're known for. So if you got an IBizWorld report on, let's say, coffee shops, the IBizWorld report would give you a top-down overview of the industry at the national level. They would say what the total sales were throughout the U.S. They would talk about some of the major players being Starbucks and Peet's Coffee, and it would be more of a narrative analysis of the industry. Now, if you came to Bizminer and pulled a report, especially this industry market report on coffee shops, you could see what's going on in the coffee shop industry down on Main Street in Santa Fe. You could see who the competitors were, who the competitors are within a 1 mile radius of your client's location. You could see total sales for that area and average sales. You could see how they're stacking up against their local competition. So much more of a local industry market analysis compared to a national overview. So that's kind of how we would be a complement to those IBizWorld reports. At this time, I just want to, that basically concludes my aspect of the demo. So if I jump back here to the Bizminer website, I just kind of want to recap what we went through today. So I told you a little bit about Bizminer, how we're known for our industry coverage, reporting on over 5,000 industries. We're known for drilling down to local market areas and also providing a lot of small business and startup information. I also showed you how to create a report today, which is a pretty simple 3-step process. You do an industry search, you select your industry, you then decide what type of report you need. It usually asks you to set a couple of more parameters, and then you can just go ahead and access the report. So pretty simple selection process. And then we also looked at some sample reports today. So you got a sense of what the reports look like and the content of those reports. At this time, I want to give everybody one last chance to ask me any questions that they may have, or if there's something that you want to take a look at while we're still on the phone together, feel free to let me know.
Hi, this is Jane in Silver City.
Hi, Jane.
So once we have a chance to play around with this, is it possible for us to do another meeting like this where we could kind of ask you questions and show you things that we're having issues with or something?
Yeah, definitely. So after
kind of a group thing.
We could do a group thing. Yeah, I'll talk to Adrian about that, because that's probably a good idea. I think we have one more of these demos scheduled for next week. and then there's, I think, another week or so of the trial account being open. And then what we can then do is schedule one more of these go-to meetings where anybody who has any questions and comments can kind of get on here, ask me questions, give comments, and we can kind of look around the database together and gather some feedback from those of you that participated in the demos and trial.
That would be great. One of the questions I know we're going to have, my associate Mario has had a chance to poke around a little bit. He went to the go-to last week, I guess, and the trick in some of our rural areas is that there's not much data.
That can be the case sometimes. I think the big thing with Bizminer is there can be a little bit of a learning curve. You really have to get in there and play around with the database and get comfortable with it. And then you do learn a little bit, you do learn some tricks that make it more useful. So for example, maybe you're looking at a very specific industry segment that's not very populated and you just can't find any local data. Well, you have two options at that point. Maybe you want to increase your market area a little bit at a time until there's enough businesses in that area to pull a report. Or maybe you want to move up just a little bit in the industry segment to something that's a little bit broader. It has more businesses in it. And then because it's more populated, that industry segment, then you can drill down to more local market areas. So there's little tips and tricks that you can learn along the way that allows you to get the information that you need. So those are things that we can all kind of regroup and talk about after you've had a chance to play around with the database a little bit. Any other questions? Like I said earlier, I will follow up with everybody. One, I'm going to resend the login information for the trial account just in case you don't have it yet. And also, obviously, I'll have my contact information in that email. So I definitely encourage everybody to contact me directly if you do have any questions or comments as you start to use the trial account. I've already had several people from the network that did the demo last week contact me with questions and comments. So far it's doing we're doing very well with that, and I'm very responsive to those questions and comments. So I usually get back to you before the end of the day.
Hey, Galen, this is Juliana Sutherland. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I was just texting Adrian, and she just asked for everyone to just kind of to let everybody know, of course, that she lost connection, and if anybody has any feedback on this particular program to, that would enhance our network, to kind of get in touch with her. So that's kind of a message for everybody. She just kind of put me in that situation. But I want to ask you, I'd like to search for a specific industry, and do you think you'd be available sometime here to kind of help me out, kind of go through that? We can either do it now, or you can give me a call after the demo ends, and we can just do it one-on-one. Okay, yeah, one-on-one would be great. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions from any of the attendees?
This was very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to do this demo. I hope it was helpful to everybody. And I definitely encourage everybody to take advantage of the trial account, get in there and dig around a little bit, use some of the reports with your clients, and definitely, whether you use the trial account or not, at least get back to Adrian and give her your thoughts on the resource, because I know they're relying on the advisor's feedback to make a decision on this resource. So it would be greatly appreciated. All right. Well, that really concludes my aspect of the demo. I will stay on the line here for a couple more minutes in case anybody comes up with some questions, but if not, feel free to exit the meeting and go on with your day. Hope everyone enjoys their afternoon.